This podcast of This American Life is supported by... Actually, we're not going to do that. Welcome to BAM. Before we start, please take a moment to turn off your cell phones and other devices. Photography and recording are strictly prohibited during the show, unless we, specifically hired you to do that. You guys stationed around the room with the big video cameras and headsets, ignore this message. Just film the show like we talked about, and now would be a good time to start.
Hi, everybody. I'm speaking to you today from the stage of an opera house at the Brooklyn Academy of Music in New York City, awarding to listeners that there is mild cursing throughout this hour, and on the podcast, we're not going to beep that. And I'm here on an opera house stage with a story that is so small, it almost feels wrong to tell it in a room this grand. It's actually about a real opera singer, not a super famous opera singer or anything like that. Carin Gilfry makes about half of her living singing. The other half, she makes recording audiobooks. And about a year ago, she was staying at a hotel, and she had a deadline on this children's book that she was supposed to be recording, and the hotel room was kind of noisy. She was hearing a lot of noise from the street. And so she looked around for a quiet place, and she went into the closet. It seemed like it would be quiet there, and she put pillows all around to deaden the sound, sat on the floor with a microphone, and then the cord of the microphone went under the door of the closet out to her laptop, because her laptop had a fan that made noise. And then she closed the door, and so it's just pitch black in there, except for the light that came from her iPad, which had the book on it that she was supposed to read. And she began.
The Exciting Exploits of an Effervescent Elf, written by Tricia Sugarek and narrated by Carin Gilfry. Chapter 1. Where is Emma? The enchanted forest was deep and green and splashed with...
Can I just say, wouldn't it be incredible if I just now played you the entire audiobook? You paid like $85 for those seats, right? Actually, I can't play you the whole audiobook because Carin gets exactly like 2.5 sentences into this book, and she stumbles on a word, and she decides, oh wait, I'll just start again. I'll just start from the beginning. So she gets up to go out of the closet and start the tape again, start the recording again, go back to the beginning, and she tries to get out of the closet.
Oh, shit.
And she discovers that she's locked in.
Oh my God. Seriously.
The guard told me at first she thought, this isn't going to be that hard, right? After all, she has the iPad, there's Wi-Fi, she could call the front desk on Skype, right? And there was a problem.
This Wi-Fi was like half of one bar, and it kept just cutting out. But I found the hotel number.
This, of course, is on the recording.
212-661-9600.
I dialed it.
Thank you for calling the Roosevelt Hotel. Please listen carefully to the following options. For additional information about the hotel, please visit our website.
And then, of course, it's like the longest hotel phone menu ever.
For sales and catering services, press 3. For accounting, press 4. For the Human Resources Office, press 5.
And I'm trying to press 0 to get to the operator, and I'm thinking the Wi-Fi is going to cut out at any moment. So I'm listening to this giant long menu, and finally I hear...
If at any time you wish to speak to an operator, press 8.
So I press 8.
Reservations, may speak and may assist you.
Hi, I'm actually in room 1136. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Fuck!
After that, there's 7 minutes of silence on the recording, just total silence. Nothing happens except every now and then, Carin just laughs to herself. That happens 1 minute and 48 seconds after the phone call. Then it's quiet, there's no other sound for 44 seconds, and then on the recording you hear... Now and then she tries the door handle again, thinking, she told me later, this can't really be true. There's got to be a way this is going to work. One wall of the closet has the hallway on the other side, And 18 minutes after Carin locks herself in, she hears people. She hears some German tourists walking towards her down the hall. And fortunately, she actually has the skills for this very situation.
Hallo, können Sie mich helfen? Hallo? Hallo, ich brauche Hilfe. Können Sie mich helfen? Can someone help me?
The Germans come to the door of the room. They whisper to each other for a little bit, and then they do nothing.
Hello?
Her husband is out on an audition. He's also a singer, and his phone was turned off. She texts her mom. Here's nothing back. She phones her mom, and right then, somebody taps on the door of the hotel room and calls through it. Are you okay?
Yes, please come in.
Can you come to the door, the person asks.
I can't. I'm stuck in the closet. Hello. In the closet right here. Oh, thank you. I'm an audiobook narrator, and I was trying to narrate a book, but the door doesn't work. Oh my gosh.
Carin knows it's a really weird thing to say to somebody as you're getting rescued, but she just couldn't help herself. Nobody wants to look like a nut, you know? Apparently the Germans went and they found this very sweet Jamaican housekeeper, and 22 minutes after Carin was locked in, the housekeeper set her free.
I was so happy to see her. And she was so nice. Oh my gosh. She was so nice.
I know this is a weird question, but like, is it appropriate to tip in a situation like that?
I don't know. I didn't think of it then.
Now, Carin, remember, her job is she's an opera singer, and operas, of course, are all about spectacle. It's about like 80 people on a stage, and horses, and love, and vengeance, and big, grand feelings. And I have to say, it would be hard to get further from all that to what happened to her in that closet. All the action takes place in a space that is not much bigger than your body, you know? And it is the simplest plot imaginable what happened to Carin in the closet. There's literally no movement in the story.
If someone were to stage this as an opera, how would that go?
It might be minimalist music, actually.
Oh, right.
Like just a repeating theme over and over and over again with me yelling help.
And, you know, people say those kinds of things in interviews, and then I'll put that quote at the end of the story, and it makes for a nice ending. Put a little plinky music under it, and maybe you've heard our show. But we did this interview just a month ago, and when we were doing it, I realized, oh, wait a second, for once in my life, I do not have to let this stop here. I'm actually going to be on an opera house stage very soon. I can reach higher. I can take it to the next logical step, the step that it never gets to, the step you need an opera house for. And it turns out I actually have a hookup for the kind of music that Carin is talking about. Some of you may know this. I have a cousin. His name is Philip Glass. He is written a number of minimalist operas. They've been performed here on this very stage since the 1980s, right? Stand on the Beach just this past fall. And so I called Philip, and he sat down to write. And so today, right now, I am pleased to present here on the Brooklyn Academy of Music Opera House stage the world premiere of his latest opera. I am not joking. This opera is called Help. Commissioned for our program today on the BAM Opera House stage. His work is played by orchestras all over the world. Please welcome Philip Glass. And to perform this with him, Jonathan Dinklage on violin, Emily Brauzo on cello, and of course, the woman this is all about, Carin Gilfry, mezzo-soprano. Carin? Carin Gilfry, Jonathan English, Emily Brassa, and Philip Glass. Well, from WBEZ Chicago, it's This American Life. I'm Ira Glass. Ladies and gentlemen, for decades, the Brooklyn Academy of Music has been a home for all kinds of new theater and dance and music and opera. And when they invited our program to perform here today, we wanted to live up to that tradition by trying to invent something new. And so what you're in for today is true stories. It's journalism like we always do, but presented as radio drama. And we think these are radio dramas like you have never heard before. We have journalism turned into opera, into a full-on Broadway musical. We have journalism turned into a play that is structured like a radio documentary. The fact is, there are so many ways you can tell a true story. There are so many ways. And today, instead of just applying the tools of journalism to everyday stories like we usually do, we try to harness the full power of music and theater. Like Carin's story. We are not done with Carin's story. Sure, you could do it as a minimalist opera, but what if you wanted to stage it as like kind of an old school opera, the kind that they take you on field trips to when you're a kid? Like, what would that be? I asked Carin in our interview, and she was game to speculate.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, as a whole opera, opera is long. Maybe the elves from the book would come and prance around and sing about the enchanted forest. That was the book I was narrating.
We are the elves from Carin's story. 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 We are the elves. We are the elves. We are the elves. It's violet. It's violet.
Of course, you would need more than elves in this story. Like, also, you would want
the people walking around the closet, the German people. There could be, a Just Got to New York aria sung in German.
Die Luft ist schmutzig und verschwommen.
Actually, what they're singing is, we have just arrived, the air is dirty and smoggy.
So viel zu tun, so viel zu sehen.
Ich möchte eher zu Hause gehen.
Hilfe! Können Sie mir helfen, bitte? Hey, jemand hat auf Deutsch geschrieben.
Auf Deutsch, das muss ich in Zweifel ziehen.
Es ist ja möglich, hypothetisch.
Wir sind alle unalphabetisch.
Ich bin in meinem Schrank eingeschlossen.
I don't know if you caught the German there. One of the tourists says, I think someone called for help in German, and the other one says, impossible. Everyone in this country is illiterate. Then there's the front desk lady, the one that Carin calls from her iPad.
Right. It could be funny if she was like, oh, my life is so boring. I just answer this phone all day and people ask for room service. You do a cutaway, I'm stuck in the closet, and finally, this is her big moment and she doesn't even know it.
Oh, it's so boring. It's boring as can go. To sit behind this desk, it's boring to be me. Hello? Are you there? Can you hear me? No one ever notices my radiant
Then there- Then there's the husband. Now, in this version of the story, we could actually see him in his audition, right? We could go to the audition, we could see him at the audition, belting his heart out, oblivious to the pain that his wife is going through.
So maybe we could incorporate some kind of famous baritone aria.
I wonder, what would be the most appropriate and ironic aria for him to be singing?
Oh, I don't know. Something about love, I'm sure. Or something about being a rescuer.
We actually talked about what would be best, and we finally settled on a scene from Rigoletto where the title character, who loves his daughter more than anything in the world, rages against courtiers who have locked her up in a tiny room. Open up that door, he sings. Open up.
Nulla in terra più l'uomo aventa se dei figli diventa l'onor. La porta, assassini, assassini, ma aprite la porta, assassini, ma aprite. God, that was great. Carin will be so proud of me.
Of course, the climax of our opera arrives with the entrance of the Jamaican housekeeper. What would she be like in the opera version of our story?
Gosh, maybe she just rescues people all day. Maybe somebody's having a baby and she delivers a baby and then she cleans up after it and...
She saves a guy who's out on a leg, she gets him to come inside.
Yeah.
sagte von Anfang an, dass jemand auf Deutsch schrieb.
Aber du sagst Ich sagte, hey, jemand hat auf Deutsch geschrieben.
Nee, Schatz, da hab ich gesagt. Warum musst du immer
Seriously, true story.
Our opera Im Schrank gefangen, or Trapped in the Closet, was composed by Matt Cohen, music direction and keyboards by William Hobbs. It featured Rachel Feldstein, Candace Hoyes, and Sarah Kraft as elves, Marnie Breckenridge as the front desk, Adrian Rosas as the husband, Shanine DeBeek as the housekeeper, Rod Gilfry, who's actually Karen's dad, as the German tourist with Heather Buck, and mezzo-soprano Carin Gilfry as herself.